Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Celeste Any Percent tutorial. In this episode, I'm going to be going over Mirror Temple. And I'm going to start off by saying that this is a chapter that a lot of runners recently no longer do in its entirety. And what they do instead is they'll collect the cassette tape in Mirror Temple, which is fairly early on in the chapter. And they'll actually do the B-side of Mirror Temple instead. And the reason for that is because the B-sides in general are actually shorter than the main chapters. And completing a B-side instead of the A-side is actually something you can do to unlock the next chapter. So if you do the B-side instead, you'll still unlock Reflection, and you can go on to there. But in most cases, the time it takes to get the cassette means that it's not worth going for the cassette, because even doing the B-side, you'll still lose time. But in the case of Mirror Temple, the B-side is actually extremely short, especially thanks to a somewhat recently discovered skip that skips over a significant portion of the chapter. However, 5B is still like a very difficult chapter like all the B-sides are, and I haven't switched to 5B yet. I might not for a while, but you really don't need to do 5B until maybe sub 3230 or so. So you can get really good times even without it, but there does come a point where if you want to get the lowest times possible, you need to make the switch. So I'm just throwing that out there so that you can consider running 5B if you want. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to go over all the strats for doing all of 5A, because it's what I've been doing. I haven't learned 5B yet anyway, so and if you're just learning to speedrun, or if you're trying to learn a few more slightly more advanced strats, you probably don't want to switch to 5B yet anyway, so this should still be useful information, even though a lot of people don't do this anymore. But to start off the chapter, it's just a hyper and then a hyper bunny hop. You want to go high enough to clear this sort of raised platform at the start of the next room. So you want to be able to jump over this, and you can also dash forward to go over that. You can dash forward to get over it a little quicker, but you want to land right here, and dashing forward will also make you bump into this wall, which will land you a little further to the left. If you just jump over this, you might like land further to the right, and you might not have enough room to hyper bunny hop over this corner if you're too far to the right. So if you dash forward and hit this wall, you'll be as far left as you can possibly be, and that gives you more room to then hyper bunny hop over this next platform, and then you can dash down right after you clear it. And you need to make sure you get full jump height so that you can then dash down right and not brush against the floor. For this small gap right here, you can just dash forward and it'll make you crouch under here automatically, or you can dash down right if you want. But you want to dash through here, and then you want to get up here as quickly as possible, so you can either like dash forward then dash upright to land up here, or you can so you can't, first of all, you can't dash jump through here. If you try to dash forward and jump, it'll force you to do a hyper, but you can still like do the hyper and then jump up here, or you can delay your jump so that you do a full jump and then you can just jump right over. And I think doing the upright dash is the fastest method, but the alternatives aren't too slow. But you want to land right here, regardless of which method you do. And then you want to hyper from here and hold jumps so that you get full distance from this hyper. And you might even want to try and jump from as far right as possible to make sure that you land on the platform at the start of the next room. So I'll show you the strat for this room again. So when you come in from this room, you'll have enough hyper momentum to bunny hop from this platform and then dash forward. And then while this platform here is moving up, you can actually dash jump off of it. And you can do an extended dash jump to get your dash back, and it'll launch you up high enough and far enough to then dash to this platform. And if you land on the left side of that platform, you you can do an extended hyper, otherwise you just do a hyper. And if you're too slow with these hypers, the blocks will start moving again, in which case you might end up being out of position for this hyper right here. Like if you hyper too late, it'll launch you up, so you need to make sure that you hyper off of it before it starts attracting. And getting the extended hyper here doesn't matter too much, because you can make it to the end of the room without it being extended, like that. But getting an extended hyper just lets you wave dash at the end of the room, like that. And you want to either hyper or just dash forward into the next bubble. And then you want to take it forward immediately, just like the bubbles in Ridge. You can press dash to activate these bubbles the moment you enter them, and you can also buffer it. But you want to hit this button and then dash straight down so that you don't have to fall to the ground. So the moment you hit the button, you want to dash straight down. You can also like fall a little instead and then do a wave dash, but it is slightly faster to dash straight down and then do a hyper the moment you hit the ground. You want to hyper out of here. You can also just dash forward out of here if you want, and it makes the ultra in the next room a little easier. But if you can do the ultra consistently even after doing a hyper from here, I'd recommend doing that. But if you want to do a hyper from here, it has to be a very short hyper, so that you're pretty much on the ground when you enter the next room. And then you saw I ultra'd, I did an extended hyper at the start of the room. You can also do a wave dash if you start the room in midair. But I did an extended hyper and then I ultra'd to this bubble. And I accidentally overshot the bubble because my dash was a little too late. And if you start the room a little too far right, you might also overshoot the bubble. You need to be... I might not be able to... There. So you want to extended hyper or wave dash off the platform and then ultra to this bubble. And if you have trouble hitting the bubble, because the bubble is... you need to get a specific timing for the down right dash to hit the bubble, or else you'll either undershoot it or overshoot it. You can just take this bubble right here, so you can, like, when you hyper into the room, you can then bunny hop or dash up right into this bubble, and then you can just take the bubble down right. It's not too much slower than the ultra, but the ultra is faster. So you can just take this bubble, take it in the next bubble, and then you want to dash up into this third bubble. And you can go a little further with the second bubble, and then dash up left, but that's slower because you're spending more time in the second bubble. So just don't dash out of the second bubble too soon, or else you might undershoot this bubble. But it's pretty lenient. Like, as long as you're directly under this bubble, you can dash up to it. And then you want to take this bubble up into the next room. In this room, the moment you exit the bubble, you want to wave dash off the slightly raised platform to the right of you so that you can land on the moving block at the top of the room. So you want to wave dash off there, and then there are lots of different ways to do this, but essentially you want to hyper through this sort of tunnel of spikes and get to the end of the room. I find that the easiest method is to land on the right side of the block and then immediately do a reverse hyper. And you want to do the reverse hyper before the block starts moving again, or else you might go a little too high. So you do a reverse hyper, and then you can dash forward to this platform. Some other methods that you can do is if you dash down right soon enough, you can just wave dash off the left side of the platform, but it has to be off the left side of it, or else they'll hit the spikes. And you'll see that was a little too late, so I hit the spikes. And this is definitely... I find that harder than doing the reverse hyper, but you can pick which one you prefer. And there's also an old strat that actually just involves just doing a hyper, where basically you kind of stand a little further to the right on the platform, and then you wait for the platform to start moving up, and the moment that it starts moving up, you can actually do a very quick hyper through here. But that strat's kind of inconsistent, and I don't think anyone really uses it anymore like that. So I waited for the block to start rising, then I hypered. And it has to be a very quick hyper so that you jump off the block before it moves all the way down. So it's probably the hardest method of doing it, so I wouldn't recommend it. Either go for the wave dash if you can get the timing right, or do the reverse hyper if you find that easier. But regardless of whether you do the wave dash or reverse hyper, you have to get your dash back so you can dash forward to here. And from here, You need to just find a strat that lets you get the cycle correct for the next room, because you'll see there are these spikes over here. So you need to find a cycle that lets you pretty much fast fall through them, or not even fast fall through them if that doesn't work. But what I do is I just dash forward here. I don't hyper, I just dash forward, and then I dash upright into the bubble, and then I wait for the bubble to move me instead of taking it as fast as possible. And then you can dash right through there, up right through there, and then you can fast fall through the spikes. Some other methods are to hyper into the room and then dash up into the bubble. And that gets you through. There are some strats that let you take the bubble immediately, but it gives you an extremely tight cycle because those moving spikes will be in your path. So you'll see that's extremely tight and hard to get. So I'd recommend either dashing forward and then upright, or hypering and then dashing up into the bubble, and then just waiting in the bubble, because waiting in the bubble will line up the cycle for you. So forward, upright, and then you want to time that jump. And then in most cases, you'll be able to fast fall through here. And I accidentally took this in the wrong direction, but you want to take this to the left, and then you want to dash upright out of the bubble. And you can do a corner boost off of this corner right here. It's actually a really consistent corner boost. And that corner boost will catapult you into the next room. If you don't get the corner boost, then you're going to want to enter this room, dash down right, and then dash straight down through this gap. If you do get the corner boost though, you'll have enough momentum to just time a dash right through here. And if you're a little late with a dash, you might hit this. So in that case, you just want to walk forward and hit this. After you land here though, you either want to jump and then do a reverse wave dash off the button. So you dash into the button to hit it and then jump to the left. Or you can just jump forward, dash down to hit the button, and then hyper to the bubble, which is a little more consistent. But you want to hit the bubble, and then you want to pretty much immediately exit the bubble with a wave dash, and then ultra out of the room. So like that. And then when you can also I can get back into the room. You can also dash straight down at the end of the room, but if you're too far right, you might end up bumping into a platform at the end of the room, like that. So you might just want to do the ultra to make sure that you exit the room on the left side. But when you exit the room, you want to start moving right the moment you clear this like the wall on the right, and you want to fast fall through here to fall as fast as possible. But you want to be able to dash down right into the next bubble. You want to dash down right into that bubble, and then this bubble's going, you want to take the bubble down right, and the bubble's going to brush against this corner. So the moment the bubble pops, you want to wave dash out of the room. Or if you're a little late, you might enter the transition first, in which case you just want to hyper the moment the transition ends. And then the moment this door unlocks, it's just 2 hypers. You want to then skip the cutscene and the next room as fast as possible. And there is actually a cutscene warp that you can do in this room. I'd recommend just hypering, triggering the cutscene, and then skipping it. But if you can get high enough and then jump off this wall and dash upright, you can then skip the cutscene and it'll warp you to a spot above that button up there. As you can see, I got it wrong, so I died, or I got stuck in the wall because it teleports me. But if you get like this height right here, you can skip the cutscene, which will teleport you to the middle of the room, so you'll be right on top of the button when it ends. And this is really risky, it's not that consistent, so you might just want to do it in like individual level runs if you run those. But it's easier just to skip the cutscene normally, which will land you right here, in which case you just want to jump up. And then you can either land here and then do a reverse wave dash and then ultra, or you can land on the button, dash straight down, and then just do a very quick hyper and fast fall to the end of the room. And the reverse wave dash is a little more consistent, but if you're, or not consistent, it's a little faster. But if you mess it up, you might end up brushing against the corner. So either way, you want to either like extend a dash jump and then dash up right into there, or extended hyper corner boost and then dash up right to here. And then you want to do an extended hyper through this gap and then ultra out of the room, like that. And then there's a very hard but very fast strat in this room, popularly known as the Yeet. Kind of a meme of a name, but essentially it involves a lot of stuff. So first of all, it involves a hyper off of this moving block right here, and then it involves a corner boost at the end of the room, which will catapult you through the next room and let you skip a significant portion of it. And it's a very hard strat, but essentially the way it works. And I missed it right there, but you saw what most of what I did is you want to land on this platform, and then the moment it starts retracting, you want to do a short hyper off of it, bunny hop off that platform, and then you want to dash upright and corner boost off the corner at the end. And the hardest part is getting this corner boost right here, because you need to time the upright dash very precisely to get this corner boost. And you saw I can get it pretty consistently if I just jump down here, but it's a lot harder to do when you have all that momentum. But if you do get the corner boost, you need to make sure that you corner boost low so that you don't bump into this corner right here. And if you get it right, it'll fling you into this room. And when you enter this room, you just want to fall, and you'll actually be able to get like almost all the way to the right side of the room if you fall from that momentum boost, and then you can dash up right and just skip this block here. So if you do the yeet correctly, you'll end up about right here when you get catapulted from the previous room, in which case you can you'll still have your dash, so you can dash up right to this wall over here. But if you have trouble consistently doing the yeet, like I can't consistently do the yeet as the corner boost mainly, that's the hardest part by far. What you're going to want to do instead is you'll enter this room with ultra momentum, so you can either like bunny hop and then dash upright to land on here, or you can extended hyper and then dash up here, or you can extended hyper, dash forward, and then hop up. But from here, you want to jump up here, climb up here, jump up here, and then you want to extended hyper off here, so you can then dash up to here. And I'm pretty sure doing it this way is faster than doing the first half of the yeet, so like doing the hyper off the block and then the dash upright. Though doing it this way, like not doing the yeet, is only ever so slightly faster. So if you can get the yeet with some consistency, you might want to go for it anyway. And if you miss it, you'll only lose like a small fraction of a second. But if you can't do the yeet at all, you should just ignore the moving block on the left and go right through this room. But if you don't do the yeet, you have to, you should extended hyper off of here, so that you can then dash down right into the transition, and then do a wave dash the moment the transition ends. And if you then you can then kind of fling yourself into this little gap here and dash up right through there. Of course, I don't have enough momentum just walking there, so. And you're gonna wanna like buffer a climbing jump just in case the block hits you during your dash, so that you jump off the block at the soonest possible moment. And if you time this a little too late, or too early, you might just get pushed back by the block, in which case you'll pretty much end up right here. And if you do end up right here, what you're going to want to do is dash down to send the block towards you, dangle off the block, and then dash upright from there. You could also do that from the entry if you have trouble doing the other strat, so you can like just hyper into the room and then do this. But that's a little slower than getting into the middle of the room from momentum. So, and another thing, so you saw I messed it up there. Another thing that can happen is if you get just the right like bad timing, the block can actually crush you against this wall, which will kill you. So there are a few bad things that can happen, but this strat isn't as hard as it looks. If you do get into this corner, you're gonna want to land here to get your dash back, and the block will be over here, so then you can then as the block's retracting, you can grab the right side of it. I don't know what happened there. You can grab the right side of the block, and then you can wall jump off of it, and then dash to the end. If you do the strat where you dangle off the bottom of the block, you're gonna land here, in which case you just dash upright. You don't even need to jump. But you want to land here and then hyper out of the room. And then you'll want to do a very long hyper to land here. You might even want to do an extended hyper just to get some more starting distance. And then after you land here, you just do 2 hypers to get out of the room. You're going to want to do 2 hypers at the start of this room, and then do a bunny hop. And if you get full height from the bunny hop, you'll go high enough to dash up right into that bubble. And then you want to immediately take the bubble to the right. And if you've gotten the heart for this level, you'll know that you can skip the door at the end of this room by taking the next bubble to the left and then going up into a hidden bubble in the middle of this room. And that's normally done while you're holding the key, so that you can then get the heart. But you don't even need the key to do this level in any percent. You can just skip this door. And then you just want to do a bunch of hypers or a bunch of wave dashes through here. There's also a strat called grounded ultras that lets you get ultra momentum across level ground, but it's really hard to do. I don't really know the exact inputs for it, so you can look it up if you want. But depending on how you extended hyper, you might have your dash back when you're up here, in which case you can dash down. Otherwise, you just want to fall here. And then you want to hyper into the next room, and then either bunny hop at the start, or extended hyper at the start so you can ultra to the bubble. And doing the bunny hop at the start, I find a little easier, but it will give you a slightly slower cycle for the room, so the end of it might be a little tight. Basically, there's a fast cycle skip for the next room that you need to get into the first bubble as quickly as possible to do. And doing the hyper bunny hop from here is slightly slower, so the cycle will be tighter. But if you can do the extended hyper ultra in the next room, you'll be able to get the cycle more easily. And I actually messed it up there. Okay, so from here, what you saw I did was I extended hypered, and then I ultra'd into the bubble. And then you're going to want to take the first bubble to the right, so this is a little hard to explain because I have to do it on a cycle, but you want to do 1 jump here, upright, 1 jump here. You want to do 2 jumps here, and then 3 jumps here. And then if you time these right, you can just dash upright through those. And you saw I was going a little slowly through that room, so I just barely made that last cycle. But if you go quickly enough through the room, you can just dash forward in the bubble without having to pause at all, and you'll get these cycles right every time, provided that you go through here quickly enough. If you do hesitate a lot though, and you're not confident that you'll make it through the room, you might just want to wait out a cycle so that you can time them yourself. But I would suggest practicing doing this room as quickly as possible so you can get those cycles consistently. When you enter here, you can wave dash off of this tiny little block at the end of the room right here. Just keep in mind that if you try doing the wave dash too soon, you'll hit these spikes. But if you do the wave dash, you can then jump at the start of the transition to do the wave dash, and then dash up right here and land here. Otherwise, you can take the bubble into this room and then just dash upright and then jump up here. But from here, you're going to want to jump and then dash up along this left wall and then buffer a wall boost at the start of the next room. And then you want to dash up into this bubble and take it straight up. And then you're going to want to try to wave dash out of the bubble as soon as possible. Just don't do it too soon, or else you might end up dashing down before the platform, which will cause you to fall way back down. But you're going to want to try to wave dash out of the bubble. And if you're all the way up, you won't be able to wave dash as easily. But you can wave dash from anywhere in here. And then you want to wave dash, dash upright, dash down to hit the button. And then you can like dash jump to here, or you can just jump and then wave dash. But you want to get to the next button as quickly as possible. So you're going to want to... I find it a little easier to... In fact, I'll retry this room so that here is not active. What I do is this. So I do a wave dash off the left side of the platform, and then an extended another wave dash so I can then dash straight down this bubble. From here, you can kind of take your time because the cutscene trigger doesn't appear until slightly later after you hit the second button, but you're going to get to the middle of the room and then time the cutscene skip. And the cutscene trigger activates a little bit after the curtain goes down. So you saw I accidentally resumed, but You're going to want to wait until right after the curtain starts falling, and then you can pause and skip this cutscene. But it doesn't matter how fast you get to the curtain, because you're going to have to wait for the curtain to go down anyway. So this is a part where the mechanics change slightly because you're controlling the Seeker. But the main strat for it is that you're going to want to do as many dashes with it as possible without bumping into walls. So from here, what I would do is down right, down left, and then up left. And then just kind of hover through here. It's kind of hard to dash at this part right here because you brush against this corner right here. So after doing those 3 dashes, you might just want to float up and kind of line yourself along right here, and then do 2 forward dashes, down, and then from here you want to do down left, forward, up, and then if you time it right, you can do up, and then left, or you can just do 1 up and then hover into position. But from here you want to do forward and then up left, and then do a bunch of forward dashes, so like 2 forward dashes maybe, and then you want to do a down left at some point to line yourself up with Madeline, and then you want to dash forward through Madeline. And then you want to mash your jump and dash buttons to skip that death animation as fast as possible. Because death animations in general, if you press your jump and dash buttons, or maybe it's just one of them, I press both just in case, but you're going to want to mash those buttons to shorten the death animation. And that death animation is longer than usual for whatever reason, so you especially want to skip that one. So now you're kind of in the second half of Temple, but from here you're going to want to just get to the trigger for falling here as soon as possible. So you can either dash forward and then dash straight down, you can do a very short hyper and then start fast falling, or you can do an extended hyper and then ultra. And dashing forward and then straight down probably isn't the best option, because essentially you want to be as far right as possible when you trigger this fall next, because there's a little moment while you're falling down here where you lose control of Madeline and she automatically starts moving towards the center of the screen, and you want to make her hit the ground as far right as possible, which means you want to go as far right as possible right here. So I find the extended hyper ultra being the most consistent method, but you can also do like a short hyper and then fast fall. But I wouldn't recommend dashing forward and then down, because that makes you land in the middle. So I do the extended hyper and then ultra, and then I land here. If I dashed forward and then down, I would have landed in the very center of this platform, which means I would have to go forward a little longer. But from here, you could try to extended hyper, or you can just hyper. I think I'm a little too far right to extended hyper, so I'll just hyper. And then I bunny hop and then dash down right into the cutscene. And then there are a lot of cutscenes in this room, so you want to skip them as fast as possible. But basically, you want to do lots of extended hyper ultras here. So I skip this, extended hyper ultra to here, and then I extended hyper ultra to the next cutscene after this one. And I want to skip the next cutscene while I still have the ultra momentum, so I can then carry it into the next cutscene. And then if you jump the moment you skip that cutscene, you'll preserve the ultra momentum, allowing you to just jump and then dash upright to land here. And then after you skip this cutscene, if you're far enough to the left, like if you're pretty much right here, like if you're any further to the right than this, then you might not be able to do it, but you can do an extended dash jump and then dash upright the corner boost out of the room, like that, which kind of catapults into the next room. Otherwise, you can just dash forward into this room. Right here, you're going to want to fast fall through this hit here and then dash forward onto the moving platform. And then you want to either dash forward or hyper into the bubble. And then you want to immediately take the bubble straight up. And then if you time an up left dash correctly, you can dash up left into the button. And if you miss the button, you just have to land on the platform and then dash up into it. So I missed it, so I have to dash straight up. But if you time it correctly, you can just hit the button from the up left dash. After you hit this button, you're going to want to wait a very slight moment for this platform to stop or to start retracting, so that you can then extended dash jump off of this platform and get a momentum boost from it, and that'll catapult you into the next room. And you don't need to do an extended dash jump from here, like the extended dash jump will give you enough momentum to fly into the next room. But if you do extended dash jump, you can then dash into the next room which will cause you to cancel out the momentum so that you don't fling yourself into spikes at the start of the next room. And I mistimed it there, so let me do it again. You extend a dash jump, which allows you to dash forward into this room. And if you didn't extend a dash jump off that block, what will happen is you'll fly into this room with all of that extra momentum, which means you'll have to time a downward dash to avoid hitting these spikes in front of me. But if you extend a dash jump, you can dash forward right before the transition, and that forward dash will actually cancel out your momentum, causing you to stop moving forward before you hit these spikes, like that. And you want to then dash straight down into this bubble, and then there's a sort of corner jump here that you can do that is easier than it looks. So you saw I jumped off that corner right there. So since you're dashing down into this bubble, you can't grab that wall. Like, something you can do is just fall into the bubble, and then grab the left side, and then dash into the right side to make it move. But it's slightly faster to dash down into the bubble, which means you need to do this corner jump. And essentially the way this corner jump works is if you fast fall right when you exit the bubble, it'll line up the corner jump for you. If you want to dash into the bubble, immediately take the bubble upright, and then you can just be holding down while you're in the bubble just to prepare for the fast fall. But the moment you exit the bubble, you want to fast fall and move to the right. So just hold down right and then be ready to jump. And then if you time the jump right, you can also buffer it. You can just jump off that corner. And with the fast fall, you don't even need to try to line it up. It just lines itself up on its own. But you want to dash up and then wall jump off the block as it's moving forward. And that's a wall boost off the block as well. You don't want to wall boost too soon, or else you might get flung into the spikes on the right. But if you time it right, you'll be able to hop up onto here. And from here, you just want to do a very quick dash jump over these spikes. You can also corner boost off of them from the dash jump if you time it right, but it's a little difficult. And even if you don't corner boost, you'll still go over them. And then you want to clear this platform here and then dash down right. And then you can either extend a hyper or hyper bunny hop to get your dash back, and then dash up into the button. And then after you hit the button, you can do like wave dash or extended hyper off the ground and then dash upright to the raised platform where the door is, or you can just jump and then wall boost off of here, which is what I do. And then from here, you can either bunny hop and then dash down right to get through here as quickly as possible, so like this. Or you can fall here, and then if you time a down right dash correctly, you'll land on this little corner right here, which lets you then just dash straight up and wall boost off the left wall. So if you do this, you'll have to jump and then line up that up dash, but if you do this correctly, you can just do it immediately. So that's the fastest way to do this. But you can see if you time it incorrectly, you won't get the wall boost, so it takes some practice to do that. This method is definitely easier, but you want to wall boost off of this wall, and then you want to dash jump from here. You can either dash jump immediately from here, or dash forward and then buffer the dash jump at the start of the transition. But you want to get over this, that's what the dash jump is for. From here, you want to land on this little corner down here, so you can either dash straight down to it or dash down left to it, like that. And then you want to hyper from here, till it go under the seeker, and then hyper bunny hop and then dash upright. And then you want to exit here. There's also a strat where you do a reverse hyper into an ultra, and you need to wait a very slight moment to aggro the seeker first before you do it, so that the seeker moves forward a little and you don't run into it. And that may be slightly faster. You do have to pause a moment to let the seeker start moving, but if you do the reverse hyper into ultra like I just did, you can get a corner boost off of this corner right here, which catapults you into the next room. So you can try either of the strats, they're about the same. But if you don't get the corner boost from the ultra, or if you just do the hyper version, you're going to want to dash jump out of this room, and the seeker's in the way now. So you want to dash jump out of here, and then you can grab this corner here to make the seeker hit that switch. And then you want to dash straight down, and you want to land on this platform up here. I messed it up a little, so I might retry. tactile dash jump for this room. But you want to hyper, then bunny hop to hit the switch, and then dash upright. And then you can either jump and then dash upright from here, or dash jump from here and then just hop up. And there's another strat for this room that actually involves making the Seeker hit the bottom switch, and then you go hit the upper switch. But it is a pretty hard one. You essentially want to wall boost off of this block right here, so that this first breakable block. And then if you time it correctly, the Seeker will hit the lower switch, and you'll be able to wall boost to the upper switch. But you'll notice I messed it up, like I didn't get the timing quite right, and so the Seeker ended up hitting that block instead of the lower switch. And you need to be able to land on that block that the Seeker just broke in order to get out of it. So it's kind of inconsistent, or at least I find it inconsistent. Some other people might get it more consistently, but I got it right there. So like you can even brush against the left side of that red block and still get the wall boost. But that's the slightly faster strat, getting the Seeker to hit the lower switch and you hit the upper switch, because now I can just hyper and then hop up here. Then I'm trying to remember. Okay, so for this room, you want to dash into this room or hyper into this room, but essentially you want to fast fall to this lower left switch and then wall boost to get back up, and then hop up here. And then you either want to do a hyper off of here or an extended hyper ultra, but you want to hit this upper switch, and then you want to fast fall so you can then get the lower switch. And if you do the hyper, you can just fast fall through these two blocks. And then from here, you want to either extended hyper or extended dash jump through this switch. And then you want to wall boost and then wall jump. And I do the extended dash jump for a little more height because it makes the wall boost easier to do. But you want to wall boost and then wall jump off that wall and then jump up here. And for this next room involves one of two sort of tricky ultra strats. I'll show you the one I go for first, and then I'll try doing the other one. But essentially what you want to do is you want to either hyper into the next room and then bunny hop and immediately ultra, or you want to buffer a hyper from the transition in the next room and then immediately ultra. But you will need to do a very quick ultra in order to do this next strat. So I do the buffered hyper. The bunny hop works as well though. And I actually messed it up. So you need to get the ultra just right so that you don't bump into any corners. And then you need to bunny hop when you hit the ground to preserve the ultra momentum. And then you have to bonk the Seeker in the next room to make it hit the switch. And if you go over the Seeker, so I dash upright to hit, try to bonk the Seeker. It is possible just to jump from the platform and still bonk the Seeker without having to dash, but I find it really inconsistent, so I dash upright just in case. And occasionally I will just end up going over the Seeker's head, in which case I just grab the switch, wall boost here, and then grab the switch. And after grabbing this switch, I can extend it hyper and then ultra out of the room. I didn't get my dash back, so I couldn't ultra. But I'll try showing you the versions of that strat that get the Seeker to hit the switch. So you saw I almost got it there, so I managed to bonk the Seeker from the upright dash, but you'll notice the Seeker missed the switch. If you get the timing just right, you'll actually bonk the Seeker, and it'll get bonked into the switch to activate it, and then you can just immediately extended hyper ultra out of this room. But if the Seeker misses, you can either wait a moment and let the Seeker's shockwave activate the switch, or you can quickly fall down, fast fall, and then hit the switch yourself. And I'm not sure which version is faster, because going to hit the switch yourself lets you unlock the door a little sooner than if you waited for the shockwave. But waiting up here and waiting for the shockwave lets you extended hyper ultra out. So I think both options are about the same. But when the door unlocks, you can actually start the extended hyper ultra a little early, so that the door unlocks as you exit the room. There is another strat for this room that you can actually do on the death cycle. So the strat I was doing only really works on entry, because If you die in this room, this door will be in the way, which means you can't do an extended hyper or a transition buffered hyper from here. It is possible to do like a reverse hyper and then do the ultra, but it's really tight because you have barely any room to do it. And you can see I'm not getting my dash back. And even if I do get the ultra, I still bump into that corner. I kind of got it there, but it's really hard to do without the transition. But an alternative way to do this strat, and this one also involves an ultra, but it's a little bit different. If you have momentum from the previous room, you want to dash and land on here, and you want to make sure that you don't go too high or too low to activate the Seeker, so as long as this wall's between you and the Seeker, it won't aggro. But you want to jump up onto this block, and then you want to extended hyper off this block, and then ultra into the top of the Seeker. And if you do that correctly, you can also bonk the Seeker into the switch. Just like that. I messed up the upright dash at the end. So I'll try it again. And you saw I went too low there, and that aggroes the Seeker. And also not doing the extended hyper soon enough can also aggro it, so. So I kind of did it correctly right there. I stumbled a little at the top, but that's another way to get the Seeker to hit the switch. And both ultra strats are pretty much the same in terms of how long they take to do. You can do whichever one you find more consistently, but this second one is the only one that works from death. So you can use this as a sort of backup strat if you die attempting the first one. But like with the first strat, the reason I dash upright is to make sure I don't die, because missing the Seeker is better than dying. But this strat works pretty well, and it also lets you extended hyper ultra out of the room. And then if you extended hyper ultra, you can just bunny hop at the very start of this room, and you'll land right on the Seeker. If you don't extended hyper ultra, you're going to want to hyper into the room, and then bunny hop, and then you'll land right on the Seeker. But after you bonk the Seeker, you'll get enough height to land on this platform here, and then you want to dash out of the room, or dash jump out of the room. And then from here, you want to do another dash jump. And you want to grab this corner up here, and the moment the Seeker hits the switch, you want to dash straight down and hit this next switch. And then you can either walk forward, wave dash, and then dash upright through the last switch, or you can hyper bunny hop and then dash upright through the last switch. And then you have enough stamina to just climb up this wall without having to hit the ground. You want to dash jump out of this room so that you, again, clear a small piece of ground that's normally in your way. And the moment you clear this, you want to dash straight down so you don't aggro the Seeker. So you want to dash straight down like right here. And this sort of static wall will hide you from the Seeker so it doesn't aggro. But from here you want to hyper bunny hop, and then again you can bonk the Seeker without having to dash upright, but I find dashing upright is a little safer, so I hyper, I bunny hop, and then I dash upright. And if I do it correctly, I'll bonk the Seeker, and either the Seeker will hit that first switch, or the Seeker's shockwave will hit that switch. And also the Seeker's shockwave should also destroy that red block. It doesn't always, but it usually does. So if you start this a little further left, like right here, instead of right here, it's also a little more consistent because you have more room. But you saw the Seeker didn't hit the switch, but the shockwave's going to hit the switch, and it might also destroy the block. After you bonk the Seeker though, you want to dash over this platform, and then you want to extended hyper or wave dash where I am right here. Then you want to dash over this, you want to land on this ground directly below me, so not on the block, but you want to fast fall to here. And then you can actually hyper, and if you do a short hyper, you can still hit that switch. You won't go over it, but you want to hyper from here, then you want to bunny hop, and then you want to hit the next switch. And then you'll have your dash back from the bunny hop to then wall boost off this right wall. You can also ultra to this switch, this last switch after the bunny hop to go a little faster. But you want to wall boost off this wall, and then wall jump off the red wall, and then wall jump off the right wall to hit that switch. And I went a little too low, so if you get enough height from these wall jumps, you'll land up here. And since I was kind of hesitating showing you the strats, the Seeker is in a bad place right now, like if you mess up the cycles for this room, the Seeker will start wandering, and it can get in your way if it gets set loose. So I'm gonna restart this room and try doing it all at once. So you notice that the block at the end didn't get triggered, and if you like, you might have to improvise like bonking that Seeker there. If this block doesn't get destroyed, you're gonna have to go over it. Otherwise, you can go under it and hit the spring. So just one more time. So that's kind of the room in its entirety in a nutshell. The extended hyper that I did to the spring, you can also, what's slightly faster is to wall boost off this wall to my right instead of taking the spring, and that'll also land you on this door platform, which is slightly faster. But if you have trouble lining up the wall boost, you can take the spring instead, and the spring is very easy to hit. Like an extended hyper with full jump height will make you always hit the spring. But you want to climb up here, and then you want to wall boost off this right wall into the next room. And then from here, you just want to dash forward or wave dash, and then skip the cutscene. Skipping the cutscene is going to land you right here. So you want to extended dash jump to this wall jump, and then dash up into the bubble. And then from this bubble, you can just dash straight up into the next bubble, even if it looks like it's a lot of distance. So you don't even need to reach this last wall. And then you want to dash straight up before you hit the wall so that you don't have to like neutral jump around the spike or dash around the spike. So you just want to dash straight up out of the bubble, jump up this wall, get that next bubble, and then you are going to have to wall jump off that next wall. So the wall jump off here, you can fast fall there if you want, but you want to dash forward into this bubble and then take it up. So coming up is one of the biggest skips in the game. At least it's one of the biggest skips in the game if you're running the A side still. Like if you're running the B side, you don't do any of this part of the chapter. But it's a skip known as search skip, and it allows you to pretty much, normally you need to get like 2 keys that are hidden around this sort of hub area, but you don't even need those keys if you do this skip. So you want to wave dash off of here. You can hyper to here, and then I just jump up and then dash up here, and then I walk forward so that I can then wall boost off of here. And then from here, you want to do either a hyper bunny hop into an ultra, or again do a buffered hyper into an ultra. I do the buffered hyper. I think they're about the same though. And then you want to ultra off of this platform, so you don't want to ultra too soon, which is why the bunny hop might give you a little more distance. But you want to ultra, you want to bunny hop off of here, and then you also want to bunny hop off of here, so that you can then wave dash off of here. So, and trying to do the bunny hop can cause you to lose your momentum there if you time the jump wrong. Or you can even do like a wave dash into a corner boost here to try and get over that, but it's a little inconsistent. So you might just want to do 2 bunny hops and then a wave dash off that again. But from here, so this is the big part of search skip right here. This is the important part of the strat. You need to do a reverse dash jump. So you need to dash into this wall and then jump left, and that'll give you enough height and distance to then dash upright to get to the end of the room. Like that, and then you'll need to hop up this wall. There's also a version where you can do an extended hyper and then into a corner boost, like that, which lets you dash forward. But it's very input heavy, and doing the reverse dash jump is pretty much free. Like the reverse hyper into corner boost is a little harder to time, and it's less safe, but you can do it if you want to go a little faster. But you're going to want to land up here, and then you can either dash forward or hyper into the next room, but you need to be ready to dash straight down the moment the transition ends. I don't know why I dash jumped there, but you need to dash straight down and then fast fall to the exit. And then you want to wave dash or hyper when you hit the ground here, and then you want to bunny hop off of this crumble block to make it go away as fast as possible. And then after you break the crumble block, you're going to want to fast fall, but you don't want to fast fall all the way, because there is a moving platform that needs to retract because you dashed at the start of the room. And if you fast fall the whole way, it won't retract all the way before you're able to wave dash off it. So you need to give it some time to move back. So don't fast fall all the way through here. What I would recommend is that you fast fall, and then the moment the Seeker at the end of this room aggroes, you want to stop fast falling. And then the moment the Seeker dashes towards you, you want to start fast falling again. So fast fall, stop fast falling, then fast fall. And you'll see this retracting block right here. If I just fast fall all the way, it doesn't quite make it far enough for me to hyper off of it. So I need to stop fast falling at least one point in this fall. And I choose to stop fast falling when the Seeker aggroes, because you want the Seeker to dash towards you so it ends up at the right side of the room. If you fast fall too much, the Seeker will stay in the left side of the room, and it'll give you some trouble. But you want to extended hyper off that platform so you can then wall boost off of it. And if the Seeker ends up staying in the left side of the room, you're going to have to kind of maneuver around it with that wall boost. But if you do the fast fall correctly, you should be able to keep the left Seeker in the right side of the room. From here, you want to jump and then dash up and hit the spring. And then you want to wall boost off of this wall. In fact, I kind of messed up because I forgot to jump, but I'll do this whole room again because it's a pretty long one. You want to wall boost off this wall, land on that moving block, and then just jump off it and then wall boost out of the room. So like that, and you can wall boost out of the room. If you're a little slow, this platform might start retracting again, in which case you can just dash down into the platform and then use the momentum from it to then dash up out of the room. From here, you want to dash up to this wall over here, and then you just want to get out as quickly as possible because the Seeker is going to be aggroed. You're going to want to wall boost off this corner right here, and then there's one neutral jump that you'll have to do. So you need to do a neutral jump right there to get around this corner, and then it's just more wall climbs. So it's climb, neutral, climb. And you might need to do 4 climb jumps if you don't get quite enough height, but that's the exact number of climb jumps that you get before you run out of stamina. So you should just be able to climb this right wall without losing all your stamina, as long as you do that one neutral jump. From here, though, you can extended hyper and then ultra to the exit. And then right when you land here, you're going to want to do you can either just bunny hop and keep some of your ultra momentum, or you can hyper. But you'll notice I entered the room before I got the chance to hyper, which is all right. You want to extended hyper and then dash upright this platform. And then you're going to want to get out of here as quickly as possible as well. You can either do a hyper bunny hop and then just ignore the Seeker. You can just dash to the end of the room by doing a wall boost off that corner at the end. Or what I do is I extended hyper, I dash right, upright, I bonk the Seeker to get my dash back, and then I wall boost out of the room. And that's actually really consistent, so I can bonk it right there to get my dash back, and then I can wall boost off this wall. You want to then, the moment you enter this room, you want to wall boost off the left wall and get up here. And then right here, you're going to have to manipulate the Seeker a little. So you want to jump off here and then grab that the right side of that red block above me, and then you have to climb to the very bottom of the block, so that when the Seeker dashes towards you, you can jump over the Seeker and then bonk it. And then the moment you bonk the Seeker, like you have to bonk the Seeker right after it hits the block and destroys it. And when you bonk it, you get your dash back, so you can then dash forward into the switch. And then you want to fast fall to this red block that the Seeker is next to, so that you can then extended hyper off of it before the Seeker destroys the block. And then you need to do a short extended hyper so that you don't bonk into that wall that's kind of hovering in the middle of the room. Like if you hyper too high, you'll hit that corner. So you need to do a low extended hyper to fall under it, and then you can dash upright to this platform. But you're going to want to hyper into this room, and then you're going to want to try to do a hyper bunny hop so you can get a corner boost, but you don't have to do the corner boost. Like I got the corner boost right there. It's just a hyper bunny hop at the start of the room, then you dash upright, and then you corner boost, and that corner boost gets you right into the cutscene trigger. It's kind of an inconsistent corner boost, but it's not an important one. But you're going to want to skip this cutscene. And now for probably the hardest part of Temple is the Theo crystal section. And this section introduces a lot of brand new mechanics that you can use with Theo. So first of all, if you grab Theo while you have existing momentum, you'll keep all of that momentum while you're holding him. So if you hyper into him and grab him while you're in midair, like that, you'll see you keep the hyper momentum. And you can also like throw him and then hyper into him while he's lined up with your hyper. So you throw and then hyper and grab him while he's in midair. That's a pretty fast way to move. You can also do like a dash jump into him if you dash jump a little sooner, but that's slower than the hyper. So if you can throw him and then hyper into him, that's pretty fast. And then Theo also allows you to do ultra dashes from pretty much anywhere, because grabbing Theo during your dash causes you to exit the dash state, which means that if you dash down right into Theo and then grab him, you can jump with Theo without wave dashing. So like that was an ultra right there, even though I jumped at a height that would normally cause me to wave dash, it caused me to ultra instead. So I'll demonstrate. This is a spot that I don't usually do, like a Theo ultra. But what I usually do is I just hyper through Theo right here and grab him. So it has to be a very short hyper so that you don't grab him before you jump. So like that. And then you can throw Theo into the next room, do an extended hyper, and then ultra into the next room and grab Theo at the start. But I just throw Theo like from here, and then I hyper into the next room. And then I can keep that hyper momentum when I grab him at the start of the next room. But the moment you grab him, you want to jump, and then the moment you're kind of lined up with this eyeball right here, you want to throw Theo against the wall, dash up into him to grab him again, and then you want to wall jump and throw him over the wall. And if you don't get enough height, he bumps into that corner. But if you do it correctly, you can throw him over the wall without having to go over the wall yourself, and then he'll land on that button and hit it for you. So I'll show you like kind of this thing in its entirety again. So it's kind of like that. So it's you jump, throw Theo into the wall, he'll bounce off the wall so you can dash up to grab him again. Then you have to wall jump and then throw him off to the right, because you can wall jump while holding Theo. You're going to be right here when the door opens, so you just want to hyper and then grab Theo. And then from here, you're going to want to throw Theo right here. And then the next room is one where you have to do, or where you should do, an ultra into Theo. So you need to be far enough left when you enter this, enter the next room to be able to do the ultra. So if you start the room from kind of further to the left and still go right enough that you can throw Theo into the next room, you can just hyper from here. But if you're too far to the right, I would recommend doing a reverse hyper into the next room so that you jump from a little further to the left. Because you need to be at the exact right position to ultra into Theo and then do the rest in the next room. But you saw I reverse hypered into the room, and then I dashed down right into Theo, and before I hit the ground, I grab Theo first and then jump. And that causes me to keep all the momentum from that ultra. But I still ended up doing this room wrong because I wasn't far enough to the right when I did the ultra. So you need to do the ultra the moment you exit the transition into this room, because you need to be as far left as possible with the ultra. Because what you need to do is, with the ultra momentum, you have to bunny hop off this first raised platform, or onto this first raised platform, and then bunny hop off of it, and that should let you bonk the Seeker. And I'm gonna have to go to the previous room to demonstrate it again. So that's the strat right there. You need to ultra into Theo, grab him, and then you need to do 2 bunny hops so that you then bonk the Seeker. And then you'll have enough momentum to then step on the button, walk off of the platform, and then throw Theo into the next room. And in this room, you need to do another ultra with Theo, but it's not quite as strict. You don't need to be in a certain position to do it. So I'm gonna have to use debug again so I can get the entry. But for this room, if you die, the dash strat's kind of difficult, but you can just kind of like jump over the Seeker and then jump and bonk it. These rooms don't have very good death strats though, so you're gonna have to practice the entry strats. So you can throw Theo like right here and just hyper into the next room. You don't need to start farther to the left, but you do need to ultra into him to get more momentum. And then again, it's just 2 bunny hops and then bonk the Seeker. So that was the strat in a nutshell. After bonking the Seeker, I do 2 wall jumps to get up onto that like pillar. And then I jump onto the second pillar and then throw Theo at the button. You don't need to jump onto the second pillar. You can just jump off the first pillar, throw Theo, and then fall in between those 2 pillars. Like I can show you. It's a little hard to do from death because this strat isn't really the death strat, but like from right here, you can walk off of this pillar, and then as you're falling, you can throw Theo into the button. But the reason I jump onto the second pillar is because that Seeker down there is going to explode in a moment. And if I fall between these 2 pillars, I might end up getting hit by the shockwave, which will launch me away from Theo. It won't kill me, but it'll launch me away from Theo, and I'm gonna have to go back to get Theo. So if I jump onto this right pillar, then after I throw Theo, I can just walk off the right pillar, which lets me stay clear of the shockwave. If you can do it quickly enough though, you can just fall between these 2 and then try to outrun the shockwave, but it's a little bit difficult. But after grabbing Theo, you basically just have to hyper into him, and then you don't need to do an ultra into Theo in the next room. The next strat isn't an ultra strat. And another awkward thing that can happen is that the Seeker can bump into Theo. I don't know why my keyboard's dropping all these inputs, but you can do an ultra into Theo at the start of this room and then jump over this wall, or you can just throw Theo and hyper over it. Or at least I think you can hyper over it, maybe not. Let me do the ultra version. So what you saw there is if you ultra into Theo, so you do need to do an ultra, but you ultra into Theo by doing a hyper from the previous room, and then you ultra into him here, and then you can just jump over this first gap, and then you can kind of take your time with the rest of the room because you need to aggro that Seeker, and then bonk it so you get enough height to hit the button. So you can just do dash jumps as well, but you need to bonk the Seeker to give yourself a little more height, and then throw Theo into the switch. Another thing you can do is just throw Theo immediately and then wall boost off of this wall over here. So if I just get the Seeker out of the way, you can wall boost off of here and hit the switch yourself, which takes about the same amount of time, but it's a little inconsistent because you need to get the correct amount of height from this wall boost. You need to wall boost to the right, and also the Seeker, since you're not bonking the Seeker, is going to be in your way. So doing the version where you bonk the Seeker just lets you throw Theo into the switch, and then you can come down. And then in this case, you definitely don't need to do an ultra in the next room, so you just want to hyper through Theo and then come into this room. You're going to want to throw Theo and then dash jump to grab him and land up here, and then you want to jump, throw him upright and grab him, and you're going to want to try to land on this button. You don't need that door, but you need to land on this button so it's not in your way. You're going to want to jump here up onto this raised platform, and that'll aggro the Seeker, and then you want to either dash jump and then grab Theo, or just jump, dash forward and grab Theo like this. And if you're too slow, the Seeker hits you, so you need to do this pretty quickly. Like that. And then here you just throw Theo, hyper to him, throw him again. And you need to outrun that Seeker, so you need to do this whole sequence very quickly. But if you can also dash jump over the Seeker, and this won't always bonk the Seeker, but it will always go over him. Like that. And that version also works, and sometimes the Seeker will get in a position where it can't chase you, but sometimes it does, so it's a little random. We want to get out of the room and outrun the Seeker. You can also do like an ultra into Theo to get out of the room, but it's kind of hard to set up, and it also gives the Seeker more time to reach you. So just doing the hyper is a little safer. From this room, you want to jump onto here, or you can also, like, if you do it quickly enough, you can dash jump onto here. That's a little hard to do, so you're gonna want to land on here, or at least jump up to here. And then you want to throw Theo into the pocket. And the moment you don't need to wait for Theo to hit the ground. You can just dash the moment he gets into the pocket. But you want to jump and dash upright so that Theo goes up and you land on the platform at the same time. And then when Theo's gonna hit the switch, and once Theo starts coming down, you want to either jump and then dash forward into Theo and grab him, or you want to do a dash jump off the platform and grab Theo. So you can do a dash jump like that, or you can jump up and dash into him. And sometimes when you jump up and dash into him, you'll lose your momentum for whatever reason. But if you do it right, you'll get enough forward momentum to land over here. And I think doing the dash jump is slightly faster, but they're both not too difficult. You want to throw Theo into the next room and then hyper in. You don't need to do an ultra here as well. But after you grab Theo, you're going to want to jump, and then you're going to want to throw him. And the farther right he lands on this next platform, the better. So if you throw him in, if you make sure you throw him into that wall, you'll land him at the farthest right position. So if you're a little too far to the left, you might land further left on the platform. And sometimes you might even be able to time it so that he lands further right. But basically, you need enough room on that platform to hyper on the platform without grabbing Theo, because if he's too far to the left, you won't be able to hyper and grab him at the same time. But what you need to do is, this strat's kind of complicated, but you need to dash straight down right here, and then the moment the platform has reached the end, you want to hyper off of it and then grab Theo. Like that. And if you get enough height from that hyper, you can go over this little block that I bumped into, but otherwise you'll have to jump and then just throw Theo and hyper out. An alternative to this strat that I find easier, but you might not, is to just do a hyper right here, bunny hop off the platform and then grab Theo. Or grab Theo first and then bunny hop off the platform like that. And that also works, and that will more consistently get you over the corner at the end of the room, but it's also a little more input heavy. But both methods should be able to fling you into this room. And you need to, at the start of this room, you need to not dash at all at the start. You just need to jump up onto here, because that platform needs to be on the ground. So you need to just walk with Theo. You'll have some momentum from the previous room, and so you'll usually like bump into this wall, and then you can jump up onto it. And then you need to jump. I don't know why I aggroed that Seeker. You need to jump off the platform, and then dash forward, and the platform should knock both you and Theo up to the next platform where you can grab him. And if you time the jump right, you can get a momentum boost from the block. Otherwise, you just have to jump up. And even if you don't get the momentum boost from the block, that should work fine. From here, though, you want to throw Theo and then hyper into him, and then get out of the room as quickly as possible. So, and if you miss Theo, then bad things will happen. But, and if you do this all quickly enough, you'll outrun the Seeker. But you need to make sure you catch Theo with all these hypers. Like, you'll often just barely make it out of the room, but even if the Seeker looks like it's gonna hit you, usually what might happen if you're a little too slow is the Seeker will bump into Theo instead of hitting you, which will knock Theo into the next room, and you'll be safe. So don't be too afraid of the Seeker, just try to get through that room as quickly as possible. From here, you'll want to throw Theo and then dash jump onto the next platform. And then there's a strat here where you can take Theo up to the higher place up there. So if you throw Theo against the wall and then dash up and grab him at the correct time, you'll go high enough to scale this wall. And it's a little difficult to do. And if you don't quite make it high enough, you can do a neutral jump off the wall and land here. But there is a way that you can get enough height from this to just go all the way over the wall. Like that. Like, I just barely made it there, but it's kind of difficult. So you can do the neutral jump if you just want to get up here consistently. An alternative to that is to just do it kind of the regular way, where you throw Theo, dash upright, And then you want to, regardless of which strat you want to do, you want to throw Theo about right here, or throw him closer to the end of the room. You just want to throw him the moment you grab him right here. And you want to do a wave dash off of this platform, and then ultra into Theo, so you can then bunny hop into the next room with ultra momentum. So then bunny hop here, and you have enough ultra momentum to get to this platform, and then you can bunny hop up to the next one. And you want to jump over the Seeker, but you want to try and get over the spring with the same jump. And you can try to bonk the Seeker as well. In fact, it's a little safer if you try to bonk the Seeker, because then it won't be in your way for the rest of the room. But from here, you need to do another one of those, like throw Theo against the wall and dash up into him. So you need to jump, throw Theo into the button so that the button gets pushed and isn't in your way. And then you want to dash up into Theo and do 2 wall jumps. And you may need to do a neutral jump to get a little extra height to do the 2 wall jumps. You need to be a little further to the left. And I always do the neutral jump at the start because it lets me consistently scale the wall. But from here though, you want to do another throw Theo and then hyper into him. And you're going to want to catch him. And then from here, there's another Theo ultra strat you need to do. And this last room with the eyeball is kind of hard to explain because it has a lot of complicated strats and it's actually a really hard room. But you want to jump up to the platform above me, and then you want to throw Theo into the next room, you want to hyper into the room, and then ultra into him at the start of the transition. So you want to throw Theo into the next room, and then you want to ultra into him, and then you want to do like 1 long bunny hop, and then 1 short bunny hop. And that should get you as much distance as possible with that ultra momentum. But basically, you need to get to a certain point before the first shockwave from the eyeball hits you. And that'll give you a fast cycle for the room. And so you need to be able to get this platform in front of me before the first shockwave hit me. So I was too slow, but if you get to this platform in front of me, the door will close behind you, and that door will prevent you from getting knocked back by the shockwave. Let me try this room until I get it correctly. So there it is. It's a very hard cycle to get, but essentially you need to ultra into Theo as soon as possible to get as much momentum from the ultra as you possibly can. And then if you do a long bunny hop and then a sort of short bunny hop to try and keep as much ultra momentum as you can skip a few of those platforms. And then it's basically the moment you get the door to block the first shockwave, you just need to do a bunch of throw hyper alternations to kind of just move in between shockwaves. So each shockwave should push you into a door so that you ignore the knockback. And then you, at the very end, you just throw Theo into the eyeball and then skip the cutscene. And yeah, that's Mirror Temple. It's on one of the harder chapters. Again, if you want to learn 5B, you can, but 5A is still the easier of the 2 chapters, though the Theo Crystal section in this chapter is very difficult because of all the ultras you have to do. You're definitely gonna want to put some extra practice into that. But some good times to aim for in this chapter is start off with at least sub 6. Like the times you get in this chapter will probably be similar to the times you get in Resort, maybe slightly shorter, but this chapter is only a bit shorter than Resort. So aim for sub 6s at first. You should be able to get sub 5s eventually, and maybe even like sub 445s might be a good like final goal to aim for. But yeah, I'll see you later when I go over Reflection. Bye.